Hi, do you remember me? I'm Jennie Walters, and this is my husband, Frank. You remember us. Let me tell you one thing. We always had oatmeal for breakfast, all the time. We had a big pot of oatmeal, and we always had oatmeal for breakfast. That was it was the Depression. That was about all we could afford to eat, for breakfast. And we didn't have any milk. No milk. We had some sugar. Okay, kids, come get your oatmeal. It's ready. We didn't have any milk. So our son Jesse asked his wife's brother, can we just buy a little bit of milk from you and we'll all use it. And we'll all use it. And so he said yes. And her brother's name is Moroni. Moroni, isn't that neat? And so we would send Dorothy and Mary with the bucket down to where Moroni milked his cows. He had a dairy farm. And Mary figured out if she took her cup with her, and if she just held it out to them, they would fill her cup straight from the cow and give it back to her, and she'd drink it, and she'd hand it again, and they'd fill it up, and she'd drink it, and she thought that was so good. She loved warm milk. And after that, they'd bring the milk back for us, and then we could have milk on our oatmeal. Hooray! Ooh, that was really nice. Boy, that was really nice. I often took Mary with me when I went to visit the women in the ward, in our church, in our ward. And one day Mary found a tube of lipstick on the ground. And she was excited. She's like, oh, lipstick, oh. And she picked it up to bring it home. And I said, Mary, would you like to give that to Dorothy? And Mary said, okay, I will. We didn't take Dorothy a whole lot of places, and I wanted to give her that lipstick because Dorothy was just clumsy. She fell down a lot. And we found out later, when she got older, that she had something inside of her brain. It was just a growth. It's okay. It was a bad one. We couldn't operate on it. And it just affected everything. She fell down a lot. And she was just kind of slow, but she was a very sweet girl. And she was so happy to have that tube of lipstick. She thought that was neat. Well, Frank, because he worked on the railroad and he worked on in that potato plant. Remember the potatoes? And pretty soon he got a job in carpentry in Max Inn Island Park. Max Inn Island Park. Maybe you have heard of that place. And he just did carpentry there. He liked that. He was pretty good at it. And they also, those boys, they love to go fishing. So here is this is our son Jesse right here. This is Frank. He's getting a little older. This is Frank's brother, and this is a friend that they have. And they are just those fish they caught. Boy, we loved those fish. They tasted good. They'd go fishing in Island Park too and bring those home. And we had Frank got sick. He got cancer in his liver. That's inside of you. That's it. That's inside of you. And I couldn't do anything about it. And he didn't live very long after that. And he died. And we will miss him. We put him in a coffin, and I remember everybody had to come say goodbye, and we lifted Mary up to the coffin to kiss him, and that scared her. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. That scared her because she didn't know he was dead. And we will miss Frank. But he was a good man. And our kids are starting to grow up. Here are some of our kids. So this is this is our son Roy, right here, and his wife Mary. This is our son Glenn, his wife. This is Jesse and his wife Thelma. And then this is our daughter Donetta and her husband. And over here is Ross and his wife Mildred, and Dorothy is not in this picture. And my son Adrian is not in this picture. I had 2 boys go to war. And Jesse went to, Jesse went to the Seabees. That's what they're called. They go to sea. He was in the Navy. And that's him in his Navy uniform. So he's on a big ship in the Navy, and he was their cook. That's what he did. Adrian also went to the war. That's Adrian when he's grown up. And that's Adrian with 2 of Mary's brothers as she went back home to her family, and she got some brothers. And that's a picture of him. And he went into the Air Force. He flew planes. And he flew a great big plane. It's called a B-27, I believe. And it's a super fortress is what they call it. And that's what that plane looks like right there. That's what Adrian flew. When he was flying, that great big plane got hit by an enemy plane. That's the enemy plane. And smashed into it. Didn't crash, but it crippled it so it couldn't fly. And the men jumped out in parachutes and floated away. And their friends went down to see where they landed. Like, got some soldiers over there, and they couldn't find him, and they couldn't find my son. And then they finally found him. He had died. He died. I was very sad. My son did not come home from the war. We got a letter to his wife. He had a wife and a little boy, little baby boy. I never knew him. And the government will send you a letter. This is from the Brigadier General, Chief of Staff in the war. And they said, we saw your husband's plane got shot down. It said, there it is, a B-29 Super Fortress, it says. And they said, we looked for him, and they could not find him. And so he did not come home. I was very sad. Well, I'm getting older. That's what I look like now. And so Dorothy and I, because she never got married, that's Dorothy, and that's me. And we moved to Rexburg. And we kind of like living in Rexburg. So we didn't live in town before. We lived out in the country. And we lived in Rexburg, and we like living in there. And we look forward to seeing our boys again. My husband Frank and our son Adrian. Because we are all going to heaven, right? And we will see each other again.